Then the tree said something. Marry me. He blinked. Marry? You are a. No, don't finish that word, she said. Close your eyes. He obeyed. The forest went completely stilled. Then the voice says, open your eyes now. Standing before him was a beautiful woman, tall, dark skinned. Her eyes were the same ones he had seen in the tree. Then she continued, if you marry me, then the spirit world is going to forgive the human world, and balance will be returned to your kingdom. What if I told you that a prince once fell in love with a tree? No, he was not mad, and it was not as a joke, but that was the only way to save the entire kingdom. Well, let's get into the story. The day Prince Adejare was born, the rain stopped. Not slowly, it simply stopped, as though the sky itself was holding its breath. The old herbalist, Baba Awo, he pressed his hand together and whispered, he is here, the one the prophecy spoke of. Prince Adejare, simply called Jare. He is the number 10 child of his father and his mother. And of course, he is the only son. They have had 9 daughters, but they were looking for a prince. So they kept on trying and trying and trying until they finally got Prince Adejare on the 10th trial. But the kingdom of Irẹlẹ had been bleeding for years. Famine in the land, falling harvest, dying cattle, and a prophecy that lives in the memory of every elders. Only a male heir from the bloodline of King Dele could bring peace back to the kingdom of Irẹlẹ. So, when Jare cried his first cry, the whole village exhaled. They did not merely celebrate a birth, they celebrated salvation. Then, 25 years later, Jare sat beside his father's mat and watched him die mid-sentence. The fate of this kingdom lies in your... Without completing the sentence, the hand of the king went slack. No final instruction, no answer. His father handed him the weight of an entire people, and he left him before he could figure out how to carry it. The king passed away, right in the prince's hand. Irẹlẹ mourned for 7 days, and on the 3rd day after the burial, the elders called the young prince into the great hall to announce his coronation. But before the words were finished, there was sound outside. Hundreds of villagers, hard and furious. Prince Adejare walked to the window, and then his blood went cold. We do not want a king from this household, a man shouted. Your bloodline has given us nothing but famine and death. Prince Adejare felt fear, real fear, the kind that lives in your legs and tell them to run. So he ran through the back door of the palace, through the market path, into the forest. When he got to the forest, he sat on a log beside an old Iroko tree, his morning clothes damp with sweat, his thoughts heavier than silence. Then a voice said, you carry too much, soft, feminine, warm. The prince looked around. No one. Who is there? He called. Do you want company? The voice replied. Or do you want to continue sitting alone with all that weight? He should have been afraid, but the voice was the gentlest thing he has heard in days, and he was so tired of things being hard. I would not mind company, he said quietly. They talked for nearly an hour, he and the voice, and she asked about his father, about the prophecy, about what he feared the most. She listened. When the sun began to lower, he said, I want you to show yourself, please. If I reveal myself, do you promise not to run? The voice said. I have already run enough today. Then wipe your eyes with your palm 3 times and turn to the Iroko tree beside you. He did it slowly, feeling foolish. He wiped his eyes the first time, the second time, and the 3rd time. Then he turned to the Iroko tree beside him. And when he did that, he got scared. The tree had eyes, nose, and lip. The prince almost ran away. What kind of tree are you? He breathed. The kind that has been here longer than your kingdom, she said. My name is Asa, and I know the things you do not know. She told him about his forefathers, the sacred Araba tree they cut despite 3 warnings, and how the single act of pride had cracked the agreement between the both words. The land leaking blessing ever since. The only way to seal that crack, she said quietly, is for the spirit world and the human world to become one. Jared stared at the face of the bark. How is that done? A pause. Then the tree said something. Marry me. He blinked. Marry? You are a... No, don't finish that word, she said. Close your eyes. He obeyed. The forest went completely stilled. Then the voice says, open your eyes now. Standing before him was a beautiful woman, tall, dark-skinned. Her eyes were the same ones he had seen in the tree. Then she continued, if you marry me, then the spirit world is going to forgive the human world, and balance will be returned to your kingdom. She continued, in the human world, I will be a woman, but my true nature must remain a secret between us alone. No one must ever know what I am. He pulled back and looked at her. No one will know. I swear it. But do you promise me that balance will be restored back to the kingdom? Yes, it will, she said to him. And one more thing. Her eyes held his without blinking. You must never, not even in anger, not in jest, not ever, mock me for being of the tree world. This is my only condition. I promise, Prince Adejare said. On my father's grave, I will never mock or make jest of you for being a tree, she said to him. Then she nodded, and they both walked out of the forest together for the first time. When they get to the palace gate, the angry crowd from the morning went quiet the moment they saw her, not with surprise, but with something deeper, like a room when a storm passes. She stepped forward and spoke to them in a voice that was not loud, but carried everywhere. The land will know balance again, she said. Please trust him to be your next king. Nobody asked who she was. They simply turned and went home. Inside the palace, Jared brought her before his mother. Mama, this is Romoke. She is the woman I want to marry. The Queen Dowager held Romoke's hand for a long moment and said, you have kind eyes. Sit and eat with us. The coronation came the next morning. The crown settled on Jared's head, and instantly rain began to fall. Full thundering rain. Villagers poured out laughing. Farmers knelt in their fields, all happy and dancing. Prince Adejare stood on the palace step, rain soaking through his ashoke, and Romoke was already smiling. This is the beginning, she said. And yes, it was. The kingdom opened like a flower after drought. Crops grew, markets filled. Romoke moved through the palace as though she had always belonged, sitting with the king's sisters, letting them braid her heads, giving her servants coral beads and fine clothes. She loved everyone within those words without effort. The people of Irẹlẹ loved her quickly and completely. But 3 years passed, then 4 years, and Romoke's womb did not move. One day, while Romoke sits inside her chambers, worried, she looked up to the sky and said, God, what is happening? Why am I unable to get pregnant for the past 4 years? Then a voice spoke to her. Have you forgotten that yourself and the prince are from 2 different worlds? And yes, you cannot produce seed as one. The price of restoration must be paid. And that means that the bloodline lineage will be passed to another family. It will no longer continue with this prince. What? Romoke said, looking around. No, this cannot happen. Please, my husband wants a son, even if it is one. Please, please. But the voice was gone. Not knowing how the king would react, she decided to keep this knowledge to herself. And on the 5th year of their wedding anniversary, the king said to her, we have been trying to get pregnant for years, but nothing is happening. I have been feeling pressured by the chiefs and the village. They want us to produce an heir. I think I need to take another wife. She looked at him steady. She had known that this day would come. Do what you must, she said to him, but promise me one thing, that I will not become small to you, that you will not forget our initial promise. My queen, you are my first, and you will always be. And yes, he meant it. That is the part that makes the rest of this story so hard to tell. The new bride came with family and ceremony, and Queen Romoke placed coral beads around her neck with her own hands. 9 months later, a baby boy was born, and the kingdom erupted. Romoke stood at the doorway, watching the king hold the son in speechless joy. When the baby was brought to her, she cradled him gently, kissed his forehead, and smiled. Welcome to her home, baby boy. You are welcome. And yes, she meant it. 2 years later, the new queen got pregnant and gave birth to another baby girl. Queen Romoke supported the new queen through every pregnancy, present and steady, giving more than anyone asked. But the palace had begun to shift. One afternoon, Romoke took the little prince into her chambers, playing with him, feeding him, singing softly the way she had always done many times before. The new queen arrived looking for her child, and a servant pointed towards Queen Romoke's door. She burst in, snatched the boy from Romoke's hand, and stepped back as though rescuing him from fire. You carried my son without asking me? Is it poison you want to feed him? I would never harm this child. He is like a child to me. He is not like anything to you. He is the next king of this kingdom. Never touch my children again, the new queen said to her, and she walked out. Queen Romoke sat on the bed, and tears came without asking permission. Her servants gathered around her. My queen, don't mind her. You are a good person. God in heaven is watching, and I believe He would give you your own children. Please, don't take her words to heart. But she only sat down with her arms folded in her lap, the same stillness she had carried since the voice told her she would never have a child. She went to the king, found him in his chambers with the new queen, sitting close, speaking low, laughing at something private. The new queen looked up and did not move. Romoke said, Please, I would like to have a word with my husband. The new queen rose slowly. She eased as she walked past Queen Romoke. My king, Romoke began carefully. You have not come to me in months. Have you given up on us? Let us try again, even if it is just one child. Please. The king sighed. I have prayed for years, Romoke. Nothing. The gods have answered me through another woman. What do you want me to do? To keep knocking on a door that will not open? Let this go. With tears in her eyes, she went to the king's mother. She explained how the king never have time for her anymore, how the king has not been coming to her, and the woman listened and promised to speak to her son. And slowly, the distance between Romoke and the king became a country of its own. The new queen became his favorite. He came to Romoke's chambers the way a man visits a place he used to love, briefly, without staying. On the night the new queen's third child arrived, the palace celebrated again. And that night, Romoke went to the king one last time. She knelt before him, not because she had to, but because she was at her core. My love, why have you left me? What we have, does it mean nothing now? Please, just try just once more. The king stood, and something dark that had been growing slowly in the comfortable soil of power rose to his face. You are jealous, he said, his voice rising. You have never given me anything, nothing, and now you want to take my joy. He stepped back from her. I do not even blame you. You cannot understand how the real world works because you are not real. You are not a real woman. Romoke's eyes went very still. You are nothing but a tree, he said, cold, finer, an ordinary tree from the forest. That is all you have ever been. The room stopped breathing. She rose from her knees slowly, the way a great tree rises from its root, from the deep. She looked at him the way the forest look at a man who raises an axe. Did you just call me a tree? Yes, and what will you do? God gave me everything I have, not you, not your useless power. You are nothing. She said nothing more. She walked to her chambers. A servant stood silent as she entered. She went into her dressing table and removed her coral beads one by one, each one landing with a soft click. Her hair pieces, her anklets, her rings, she laid them all on the bed, like a woman leaving things she will not be coming back for. Then she walked out of the palace, through the gate, past the sleeping guards, through the village, into the bush path, into the forest. She walked until only the sound of the tree breathing around her, ancient and awake. She walked into the Iroko tree, stood before it, face wet, a chest full of something with no name in any human language. With tears falling freely from her face, she cried so loudly, and immediately she transformed back into an Iroko tree. The bag took her in, and Romoke was gone. The next morning began with a sound that cut through every room in the palace. The new queen's youngest, the boy just born, had stopped breathing. The king's mother had been warming water to bath him. She turned for a moment. When she turned back, the child was still. They rushed to pick the child up, trying to revive him, but he is gone. When the news of the child passing got to the king, he was furious and angry. He sent for Romoke. The men went and returned with pale faces. My king, our chambers are empty. Our jewelries are on the bed. She is not here. Immediately, the king knew what had happened. He ran to the forest barefoot, his robe loose, branches whipping his arm, but the forest would not show him the way. Every path bent wrong, every tree looked like the last one. He ran in circles until his feet bled and the sun was going down. He could not find his way back to the forest. For some reason, he could not find his way to the same tree he has always visited. Maybe she's just playing a prank on me. Maybe she will return soon, he said to himself as he returned to the palace. On getting to the palace, he met villagers carrying their sick children all over the places. The wells had dried up without warning. Goats were dead in their pens, and the prince, the king's first son, had drowned in the shallow water near the palace, where he played every day. Water he had always been safe in, and that day he drowned in the water. The elders gathered. The oracle spoke. When the divination was done, the oldest chief raised his head and looked directly at the king. You have offended a great spirit. That spirit was the pillar of this kingdom. Everything falling, it falls because she has left. The king looked at them and he confessed everything. The forest, the voice, the tree with eyes, the woman who stepped from the back, the condition he had promised to keep, the word he had spoken. When he finished, the room was silent in a way rooms are always when something very serious had been understood. You cannot be our king anymore, Chief Falade said. You betrayed the spirit word. You took what the spirit word gave you and spat on it. And instantly, the king was removed from the throne and banished from Irẹlẹ kingdom. Before the week was out, he did not even fight it. As he walked away from the kingdom, he said to himself, what would I have even said? That I deserve to stay? I had looked at the woman who left her world for mine, who carried sorrow she never asked me to share, who gave grace when I had nothing back, and I called her an ordinary tree. There is no defense I could make. There was never. The new king is the first son of Adejare's second sister, a quiet young man who had grown up watching rather than reaching. He was crowned with the same drum, and he carried the crown carefully, the way you carry something borrowed. His first act as a king was to go into the forest alone, carrying kola nut, palm wine, white clothes, and a clay pot of water. He walked until he found the great Iroko tree, dark, rigid, ancient. He knelt. I do not come with excuses, he said. I come with sorrow. The wrong has been named. The guilty one is gone. I am asking on behalf of a people who have suffered enough that you restore balance to this land. He poured the wine on the roots. He broke the kola nut. He laid the white cloth at the base of the trunk. Then he was quiet. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the leaves above him moved, not with wind, because there was no wind, but from within themselves, a deep, slow rustling, like breathing. By morning, the sick children were eating. The wells filled overnight. The air over Irẹlẹ changed the way air changes after rain. Lighter, cleaner, easier to breathe. The land forgave, not because of the offense was small, but because life must continue. Jare spent the rest of his years in a compound at the edge of a distant village. He grew old the way men who had made great mistakes grow old, heavily, quietly, with a particular silence around them. People say that some mornings before sunrise, he would walk to the tree line near his compound and stand there, not moving, just looking in. He was not looking for a way in. He knew there was none. He was standing in the only place where he could still be close to what he had lost. The people of Irẹlẹ tell his story to the children, not to frighten them, but to remind them. They say, a gift given by the spirit world is not decoration. It is always a covenant, and a covenant broken does not quietly closes. It opens wide and terrible and take back everything it gave. They say Romoke still lives in the forest on certain evenings when the light falls through the tree at a particular angle. If you stand very still near the Iroko tree, you will hear something, not words, just a sound, soft and low, like a woman humming to a child she had never had. And they say the Iroko tree never dies, only the people who forget do. Thank you for watching this video, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel for more interesting, educational and uplifting stories like this. Do not forget to subscribe and like this video. Bye and see you in the next one.